Welcome back. My next guest is Nestor Aparicio. Nestor, welcome in.
Happy weekend to you. 1 week closer to Christmas. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, 1 week closer to Christmas and a few days closer to the Ravens going up against the Browns Saturday, which I mistakenly thought it was Sunday for some odd reason. But Saturday we get to entertain one Deshaun Watson. No shortage of storylines in this game, Nestor.
Well, you gotta play that flex schedule, right? I mean, that's the way they do things these days, right? Might play Saturday, might play Sunday. The playoffs, they play a Monday night game in the first weekend of the playoffs. We kind of forgot that from last year.
Yep.
That if the Ravens get in, they could be playing on Monday night. So keep that in mind because we're 4 weeks away from that. But this game here, anytime your backup quarterback's playing, if I would have said to you at any point in March, April, May, June, July, August, that it's Christmas time, the Ravens are 9-4, but Lamar Jackson's hurt, and the coach lies enough that you have no idea when he's going to come back. I would say that you'd say, well, it's December. What did he do to get hurt? Did he run into a linebacker? I mean, and the fact that the second string quarterback had a head trauma, had a brain injury, and the coach 5 minutes after the game is saying, can you recite the calendar, the months backwards? He can. And I'm thinking to myself, are we in the cave here? What are we doing?
Yeah.
But they're going to rush him out there to play. I mean, Tyler Huntley's going to play, right? I mean, I have very little doubt about that.
Yeah, he's practicing. He hasn't cleared the concussion protocol, but when you see him out there practicing, all indications are he's a go. But I'm not sure that they can't take the Browns down, even with Anthony Brown under center. Of course, they have better chance with Tyler Huntley, but the way they've been running the ball, the way that the offensive line has been smacking people around, the way the defense has been playing, I like the Ravens' chances going on the road against the Browns.
Well, they have to run the ball, right? I mean, there's throwing the ball even with Lamar is not something we've never said that the Ravens, hey, they're going to pass the ball this week and they're going to win. Like that, there's never been a week that we have thought that about this offense. And now even more so when wide receivers are suspect. Obviously, running the ball is something not just that they can do, they do it well, they must do it. And if they don't run the ball well, they're not going to beat anybody. So, and that, again, that goes back to Zeitler, it goes back to Stanley. But the question this week, and Luke and I talked a lot about this, is how important are these games? Do you want to be a wild card? Do you want to be a division champ? I know you want to be a division champ.
Sure.
But the difference between being a division champ is one home game, right? Like literally. And how important are these games in regard to getting Lamar back on the field? You know, what's the right point if Lamar is healthy? What's the right point in bringing him back knowing you're 9-4? I mean, they've built a lot of cushion here, and a lot of these teams have faltered. I mean, Miami's lost a couple weeks in a row. Like, it doesn't feel like the Lions aren't in their division to come get them, but it feels like nobody's coming to get them other than Cincinnati. And I don't want to cede the division to Cincinnati when you're 9-4 and they're 9-4. But I do look at this realistically and say these next couple of weeks, you're going to go at it with a backup quarterback. If you can go beat Cleveland with a backup quarterback, doesn't say much for Cleveland. Certainly says a lot for this team. They did beat Pittsburgh with a third string quarterback. One drive, they ran the ball, they took the ball away. So running the ball and taking the ball away, I think that recipe that we saw in Pittsburgh last weekend, that has to happen. If they don't take the ball away, they're going to have struggle. I think they're going to struggle to win. And I think if they don't run the football, they're definitely going to struggle to win because they're not going to be able to possess the ball.
Well, the Browns' defense is the worst run defense in the NFL, so it's tailor-made for the Ravens to run on them all day long. The Ravens' defense, on the flip side, has been stout against the run, and that's job one of the NFL. If you can't stop the run, I mean, the Steelers knew the Ravens had to run the ball, and they couldn't stop them. The Browns are going to be even worse off, and all the quarterback has to do, regardless of who he is hand the ball off to these running backs. J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, he ran out of gas on that long run, but that burst on that goal line when he scored a touchdown, the second effort he gave, I thought was epic. The other thing, Lester, is that they get past the Browns and they have the Falcons at home Christmas Eve. That's almost like a bye game. Even if Lamar Jackson is healthy, I don't know that you would start him.
Well, that's what I'm asking. I mean, this Atlanta game, do you feel like that's such a walkover? And look, I don't think the Ravens should be getting cocky about being a better team than anybody on any given week in this league, right? But that,
however, you got to put when you have the Atlanta Falcons on your schedule, you've got to say, however, they've got a rookie quarterback, they're a hot mess. They're a dome team. They're coming to Baltimore, what should be in a cold, hostile environment. Again, I like not to minimize what they are, but if you're going to rest Lamar Jackson, that's a perfect time to do so.
Well, if that's the case, then you think Lamar is shelved until January 1, minimum.
Why not?
Minimum, right?
Why not? Why not? Let the cat be healthy. Before he got hurt, he wasn't himself. He was slower, right? He wasn't moving around well, and let him heal up. There's no benefit for him to play against the Falcons and risk further injury.
Well, I mean, a lesser version of Lamar Jackson. I mean, his special skill is being able to evade and to run and to have the threat of running. The threat of him running is its own game plan, right? So when he's not in there, things change dramatically. I think for all these defenses, whether it's the Browns being the worst or whether it's the Falcons next week, I think it makes it easier. They become mortal. They become a regular team. And then the running game has to be better than that. The running game has to be as good as it was from the 1 yard line last week. It has to be run left with Ronnie Stanley, Pat Ricard. They have to be in second and manageable to keep the ball, because I just don't think they're going to throw the ball with any kind of efficiency at all. I don't, the weather starts to become a factor here the next couple of weeks. I mean, certainly was this morning as we got together. Throwing the football becomes different on those kinds of days. More paramount that you run the football. You mentioned Dobbins and the run. I had Bill Cole on this week, and he said it looked so unnatural, that he was gimpy, like like a shot horse by the time he got to the 35, 40-yard line, right?
But Dobbins has never had true breakaway speed. He's never been a true burner. He's been the kind of guy that can rip off a 30, 40-yard run. So going back to before he got hurt, to me, this is who Dobbins is. He can't take it 80 yards, even when he's 100% healthy. But it was encouraging to see him on the field. It was more encouraging to see the offense put up those kind of rushing numbers without Lamar Jackson, right? He makes the running game go, the RPOs. So when you can impose your will on a really good defense like the Steelers, by running the ball without Lamar Jackson, I think it bodes well for the future. Also factoring that Kevin Zeitler wasn't out there.
Well, and getting healthy everywhere. I mean, we talk about health of the team. Every guy I walked up to in the locker room on Sunday in Pittsburgh had been missing at some point, right? Ronnie Stanley, Kyle Hamilton. You just go down the list here. Linderbaum had an issue a couple weeks ago as well. So all of these guys Mark Andrews all these guys have been hurt, right? To see them all together on Sunday and to see what they can accomplish even without Lamar, I think that's what gives you a little glimmer in your eye to think, well, they can beat the Bills. They had the Bills beaten 10 weeks ago here. The Chiefs, Chiefs aren't as good as they used to be. They can be. That's where the head needs to be at 9-4. Because if you're not beating the Clevelands and you're not beating the Atlantas and you're 9-6 on Christmas morning, somehow things go awry because of the backup quarterback, because of mistakes a backup quarterback could make, right? I would say that could change the complexion of this thing tremendously. I've seen people write that this is the most important game of the year, right? Because this is a game that they have to win with the backup quarterback that gives them 10th victory in a position to be a playoff team, that they don't have to win so much anymore. But that Cincinnati game at the end, if they can put that in a position to win the division, which is where they are right now, that if it can stay there for whatever reason, whether Cincinnati falters against Buffalo a couple weeks from now, anything that keeps them in a position to win the division, that's got to be the goal. And if they can do that with a backup or a third string quarterback, fine. Strange game the other day, though. I mean, just watching second string and third string and game of attrition, it means nothing to Pittsburgh. They're not going to the playoffs. It meant everything to this young group of players. I guess that's why the Puerto Rican music was so loud in the clubhouse afterwards.
No, they were having a ball, Nestor, but I thought the Pittsburgh game was the biggest game of the season. Look, you're a lot better off being 9-4 versus 8-5. It sunk the Steelers a little bit deeper. Our good friend Mike Tomlin is a game away from having his first losing season up there in Pittsburgh. So, look, every game is huge, and even the game against the Bengals, you want the bragging rights. You want to be the big boy, right? We held serve at home, and now it's time to take it away from them on their home field. So it sets up as a fantastic finish for the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, it was exciting seeing them win in Pittsburgh, because it's always fun to win in Pittsburgh. And like Patrick Queen had won there, a lot of those guys had won there. So to your point, they're smelling themselves this week. They feel good about it. They feel
great.
really good And they should. They feel really good about winning that kind of game. And I wrote that on Monday in my columnist as well.
Well, they're chirping, and it was how much fun was to watching those guys on the sideline waving their version of their terrible towel, making mocking the Steeler fan base. You'd like to see that swagger out of your defense.
Well, Calais Campbell has an appropriate amount of swagger with him. Sometimes Marcus Peters a little too much swagger. But in the case of Calais Campbell being a leader, I think the veteran leadership part of this team now, this is the reason they import the Morgan Moses and the Zeitlers. And that's Stanley is a veteran now. And Mark Andrews is a veteran now. And Lamar, even though he doesn't tweet like a veteran, he's a veteran. So, I mean, they've got Patrick Queen has moved into that. I'm a veteran. I'm not a young guy. I'm not an unproven guy anymore. And Roquan Smith's playing for money, right? So, there's some guys out there playing for money. Marlon Humphrey's got his money. Marcus Peters they want to win rings. There's a point for some of these guys that they've got a lot to prove. And I think Eric knew that when he brought Roquan Smith in and gave up a 2 and a 5 for him, that if the defense was going to become more stout, it needed better players. And that gave it a little – I think the defense has had a little bit of a heart transplant since Roquan Smith's been here, right?
100%. He's been a difference maker, just like you've been a difference maker on the airwaves. You have an anniversary right at WNST, 31 years. God bless you, and I appreciate everything that you do for our community and beyond.
I appreciate everything you do for us, and it is my 31st anniversary. We're going to be celebrating over at Costas on Thursday, and you'll hear all the residue of Gina Shock from the Go-Go's, John Allen, all sorts of good stuff. My friends in the band Milkshake, Beyond Words, we're going to tell some stories and Hammerjack stories. And then next week, we're going to get proper eggnog, and we're going to get proper ham over at Wise Markets, and we're going to have a proper celebration. My wife's savior, the man who saved her life twice, is coming over for Christmas. So Christmas night, we're going to have Germany here in Baltimore. So it's a big week no matter what the Ravens do this week. Don't tell anybody that.
How great is that? Nestor, as always, I appreciate you. Keep doing great things, and we'll catch up again with you next week.
All right. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Stay well. There he goes, Nestor J. Aparicio here, 1570 AM. WNST will take a quick break and come back right after this.